Welcome back, everybody. You can check out my work and my website, all at jonathanrector.com. And if you guys wanted to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, all that cool stuff, you can follow me, go to the website, and it'll all be on there as well. Or you can just see it at the bottom of your screen. Today, this video, actually, all of this said and done, took about an hour and a half. It's compressed big time. So don't get discouraged if certain things you do take too long or anything like that. A lot of this type of stuff here is pretty labor intensive. And what this actually is a pinup for that role-playing project that I still have yet to get a title for. But all the artwork is wrapping itself up, and you guys will be in the know on all that, especially if you like role-playing and superhero role-playing books, like Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of deal. And what this is a bunch of artwork that's going to be needed for the inside of that book, and it'll be put on Kickstarter, all that fun stuff. But this character here is actually they're dressed up sort of like a firefighter, and what the client had asked me to do was the pinup is to have this character protecting people behind him or her from all this fire and sort of absorbing it in a way. And I'm not sure if I really sold myself on the absorbing part of it, but you know, it's all a learning process. And I've actually started using Manga Studio 5 quite a bit more frequently than Manga Studio 4. And I figured this would be a great opportunity to try out Manga Studio 5 a little bit different, like with the brush settings and all that fun stuff. And I've been watching a few inking videos on YouTube. Particularly, there's one by Scott Williams doing something over Jim Lee. And the way he was inking, I'm trying to do that a little bit more with my own stuff. It's just even though I'm not seeing him actually ink in real life, how it looks like the line art and stuff or his inking is coming through. I'm trying to pick up on that, and it's a little bit difficult to do when all you can see is a sped up video. But there is something you can see there. You can learn from it. And I'm finding Manga Studio 5's brushes, especially the inking, I feel like I get more control of them even if I'm zoomed out. I still love Manga Studio 4, but you know, that's not really the point of this video. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a context here. So what I had done at the beginning there was had a thumbnail, you guys saw that, and I blew it up, which means I just increased the size of it and then tightened up the anatomy on that gesture. And now I'm just going over again and adding the costume elements. I will say what I end up doing is, from this stage here, you'll see me, I believe, turn it to blue and lower the opacity again and start inking. And what I'm trying to do, as best I can, is ink and add shadow and rendering all at the same time. I'm not there just yet. I still don't feel comfortable or confident. I have been just doing the normal routine of kind of getting that line art with some line weights down and then throwing some inks over top of it. And what I do here, actually you'll see, I'm going to start inking quite a bit, and as I get into it, I'm just not, like, I don't like it. I'm not feeling it. That energy isn't there that I want, and I end up just deleting it and inking from scratch. So I don't know how far we're going to get into the initial inking, and it doesn't look that bad. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's, again, you'll see as I'm going, it's missing something, and I'm adding some rendering there, you know. I still do that stuff. One effect I wanted to have was this flame. It's sort of surrounding them. And I wanted to have the side on the right that you can see on the paper right there is just like torn up clothing. And I keep that in the final as well. I think it's a cool effect once I go to coloring. So here you can see I'm starting to add some lighting to it. I'm pretty sure right then I didn't even really like it, but I decided to keep pushing because sometimes, you know, you don't want to wrestle with your art, I find. But there is some merit to pushing past something that you don't like the current stage of. So what I mean by that is if I had kept going, perhaps, you know, a little bit into it, I would have actually started to see the image a little bit better in my mind and started adding certain effects to make it more clear. And I wouldn't have gotten to that part unless I had gone through this right here, this crap work. So I think what I did there is I actually printed this out. And I've been starting to do that, is just printing this on an 8.5 by 11 paper, which is very close to what it would look like in print of an actual comic book. And it wasn't looking that hot. I think I even printed it again with some of that stuff. So I'm pretty. It's been I think a week since I've done this, so I apologize. It's not that fresh in my mind. I'm pretty sure I'm getting close to deleting it because I don't even really like the way it's looking right now. It just seems like there's no unity to it, and I'm not even sure if I really get that in the final version, which we'll jump to in a second. But there's just something that was just missing here, and I'm not quite sure what it was. I can't put my finger on it. Like right here, I'm starting to do some weird things, like rendering styles are a little different, and you know, it's just not. So there it is. All right, so now we're going back into. I think I'm defaulting here into how I normally ink. In Manga Studio 4 especially. But I've been doing it in this sort of style, which to you guys and girls, this might look the exact same to you. And I wouldn't even hold it against you, or there's nothing wrong with that. It's something that I think all of us, we see in our own work, and it's hard to describe it sometimes to other people. So yeah. Here again, just trying to worry about building up some shape. There we go, starting to cut in some shapes. See, this is where I feel more comfortable cutting in. I like to call it shapes of where the shadow would be. And you'll see once we get the paint bucket tool and fill her in. And a lot of this rendering is still all the same as I had before. But I don't know. I think what I was more concerned at in this stage was being more aware of an actual light source, as opposed to the last one where it just felt a little bit... draw, and then as I go along, I'll figure it out. And I think honestly that's what I was feeling with that, was that I would figure it out, and I don't like to work that way. I don't like the guesswork. I don't like surprises too much, especially with work like this. There's deadlines involved, and you want to do your best not to miss a deadline. It happens, even to the best of us. I've missed plenty of deadlines, and it's something I'm personally trying to get better at. And I think it's things like this, where it's you got to know when you can and when you can't really experiment with certain things. Personal projects and stuff, they afford you a big time allotment that you can actually go in there and start messing around with this sort of stuff. Or if you're doing personal study, save that for that. Granted, even though I just said all that, I am using Manga Studio 5, which I'm not too comfortable in. I will say that since I've done about 4 or 5 pinups plus 2 double-page spreads in here, especially for this project, and actually I finished 1 page of the standard in here as well, I feel a lot more confident. And I want to get that video going, that Manga Studio. There's 2 videos still I know a lot of people still contact me about. I had a Manga Studio versus Adobe Photoshop. And that's an older one, and I asked you guys to ask some questions in the chat. And the other one would be Manga Studio 4 versus 5, because a lot of people, I don't know, it's weird. Manga Studio is one of those softwares, at least with the people that I talk to, where there's some diehard Manga Studio 4 and 5 fans, and there's some diehard it doesn't matter. But I've never heard people talk about Photoshop like, oh, CS3 or Photoshop 7 is the best. But with Manga Studio, it's awesome. Because I've got Will Robson, a good friend of mine. He loves Manga Studio 4. There's a couple people that follow me on Facebook, and they're always kind of pecking at each other with, no, 5's better because you can get all these cool brushes from other people. And, again, it's all what works for you, and just sticking to that. And when you feel comfortable, or if you feel like you're starting to, I don't want to say stagnate, but you're starting to get used to your tools and you want to start spicing it up, that's, I think, a good time to start doing things like this, like checking out, even if it is a more updated version of Manga Studio. And these pinups here, they've been actually really fun to do. It's been a nice change of pace from just worrying about full-blown comic pages. All I'm worried about here is trying to have an interesting image. Whether or not I'm succeeding, that's debatable. I like a lot of what I've been doing with this stuff, especially, and a lot of it, or some of it, I'm not too keen on. But what it is letting me do is just, have fun for a little bit. That it's a little different. I'm worried about clarity and telling a story with these characters, and hopefully make it cool enough that people look at it and they enjoy it, and they want to see more. I think that's probably one of the best things, if not arguably the most important thing you want is, there is a debate to be made about clear, quality artwork and anatomy and stuff that makes sense. And on the other hand, there's definitely something to be said about a style. And you know, I'm a big believer in style will get you a long way, but you need to have an understanding, I think, of what you're doing before you start getting into the style stuff. Here, just adding some more rendering, just trying to spice it up. I didn't want to go too heavy on the rendering in this image either, because this character should be surrounded by fire, so it's a lot of light going on, and that leaves very little room for shadows and cast shadows. So like all in here, it's a little tough to get that going. But it is comics, you know, it is illustration, so you can break the rules for a lot of these things. Just trying not to break them too much. And there you saw me using something that I love to do, just use the lasso tool to carve out shapes for shadows. And again, this is actually one thing that I really dig, and I don't know what it is about Manga Studio 5 that I'm feeling a little bit better with than Manga Studio 4, which is the rendering. It feels smoother, and I'm liking the results. Okay, we're supposed to have a guy and a girl in the background here. They're kind of like holding each other. You know, I don't know if they're in a burning building or if they're outside and there's a car beside them that exploded, or maybe it's a bad guy and that can shoot fire and he's just, you know, trying to kill these guys or something, and the hero stands in front of them. Just trying to show the guardian aspect of it, the protector, you know, the Captain America, the Superman kind of style. You know, this kind of pose, this kind of thing here is Heroes 101, in my opinion. It's showing you, you know, this is a hero. Somebody's going to put their life on the line for an innocent, and you know nothing about these characters, so hopefully the image still speaks of itself. So here, again, just putting on a blue line art layer for background, just as a gesture of an idea of what I wanted. I'm going way off model here of what I had on my thumbnail sketch underneath. I'm just using a thick brush, and I don't know if you can see it over there. Yeah, it's actually was it India ink I think I'm using, or something like that. I forget exactly what the setting was, but I like the texture that it actually adds. And I'm just adding, right here is just, you know, the idea of there being a background or a middle ground and a foreground that they're standing on, and a background as well. So debris, kind of chunks of rock and some fire that will, you know, jazz up once we get into the color stages and all that fun stuff. Just worrying a little bit more about the fire here, the path that it'll be going along. Again, once this all gets into color, who knows where this is going to go. But I think I'll record that so you guys can see that too. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys had a good time. Hope you guys picked up on some stuff here that helped you out. But keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.